Happy Friday, everybody. It's Dr. Bridget Young from babyformulaexpert.com here for another Friday happy hour. I have been a little sporadic with happy hour lately because my life has just been a little bit more insane than usual. As you notice, I will not be drinking wine because I am driving home from work. I will have a glass to celebrate with my kiddos when I get home. I mean, they won't be having wine. But I wanted to do this happy hour first because once I get home, it's just total chaos and I just want to be with them and not have to worry about anything else. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some options for healthy toddler snacks. There's tons of options for healthy toddler snacks, but if you think about snacks and if you think about what toddlers are commonly fed and you think about the snacks that are commonly marketed in the aisle, it is all carbs on carbs on carbs. And I have nothing against carbs, especially for growing children, but they should have some other sources of nutrients, like maybe some protein and fat in there somewhere. I often see this at daycare too, including my kiddos' own daycare. Every snack is just crackers or more crackers, puffs. Anyway, so I know it's because that's super convenient and it's something you can put in your diaper bag, but I wanted to give you some other options, and these are go-tos that I still use for my 2 and 3-year-old that you can have in your diaper bag, and so you're not just constantly feeding your kids carbs when you're on the go. And so also the other thing with carbs and puffs and all those things, they often have a ton of sugar in them. So I'm always trying to steer away from sugar and steer towards fat, which tiny little bodies need a lot of, especially when they're transitioning from breast milk formula to solid foods, to get enough fat and calories into their tiny stomachs. So here are some things that I always have on hand. I'm going to give you a lot of options because toddlers are picky. Some of these your kids will love, some of them they won't, so you'll have a lot of options. Most of these you can just keep in your diaper bag, which is the best. Some have to be kept in the fridge, but I will not give you anything that you have to prepare because nobody does that. Everybody intends to, but nobody does. For example, the first thing that I would like to do every week is buy a ton of vegetables, pre-cut them up, and put them in little baggies for my children, and I never get to it. So if you can do that, amazing. Please do that. If you're a normal mom, here are some other options. 1, I always have in my diaper bag nuts. Any kind of nuts. If you have a nut allergy, I'm super sorry, but nuts provide excellent fat and protein. And if you've got a really little one who doesn't have any teeth, so they can't chew nuts yet, I still have in my diaper bag the peanut butter packets. They have tons now, like peanut butter, hazelnut butter, almond butter. Justin's is a brand that I can think of, but there's lots of brands out there now. And if you do have a nut allergy, they do have sunflower butter in those little packets. And that's a great, really big calorie punch if you end up being out longer than you thought and your little kiddo is really hungry. I often suck them down myself. I keep them in my purse. I'm totally that person who steals the little peanut butter cups from a buffet that you can just peel off, and my kids have definitely just licked that out like a dog before because they love peanut butter. Anyway, those are fantastic to have in your diaper bag and they don't go bad, so you can just keep them in there. What else next? Nuts, pouches. Oh, seeds. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, nothing that obviously the pre-shelled ones. Again, if your toddler's old enough that they can chew, those are great sources of protein and good fat and usually keep them busy. Will cause a mess in the car seat, so be forewarned about that. But if you're out at a park, that's something that's really good to have on hand. I still keep some pouches in my diaper bag because they are just so dang convenient. My favorite pouches, I have a whole video about pouches, but my favorite pouches to have for convenience are a fruit veggie blend. I really don't give my kids any of the pure fruit ones because it's usually more concentrated fruit than they could eat from a whole fruit, but the fruit and veggie blends are a little more balanced in terms of the sugar content. And I always like to find a pouch that also has some source of whole grain or extra protein like quinoa or lentils or what's another one? Yogurt. So those are my favorite pouches, and I always have 3 in my diaper bag. Next, cheese sticks. Cheese sticks you can't keep in your diaper bag, but I always have cheese sticks in the fridge, and then you can just grab them on the way out. We only eat yellow cheese sticks in our house, so do not bring white cheese sticks anywhere near my children. I don't know why, but whatever. They can have yellow cheese sticks. Obviously, cheese, if you do dairy, is a fantastic source of protein and fat. And I actually get, my favorite place is Trader Joe's because they sell full-fat cheese sticks. And again, when you're dealing with toddlers or really young children, full fat is the way to go. So I always have full-fat cheese sticks. And then another one that has to go in the fridge, but it's easy, is deli meat. So there's lots of great options for super fancy, kind of expensive, nitrate-free deli meat. Oh, my purple nails, thank you. Feeling a little wild. Nitrate-free deli meat for the little ones, and they won't need that much. We're off a deli meat kick. Can't get my kids to eat it now, but it is something that's really healthy for them to have. And again, is a way to get protein into them if you're going to be out all day. Carbs are easy to find. Protein is sometimes harder to find. A little trick that worked again for my kiddos for a while, but we're off it now, is to roll a cheese stick up in some deli meat, and then they can eat it like a log. So again, if your kids are a little older and they can be feeding themselves that way, sometimes that really helps, and that's obviously a real good protein punch. Okay, so cheese sticks and deli meat. The next one is beef jerky, or any kind of meat jerky. Again, because this is, young children in tiny bodies, I'd want you to spend the money to buy the crazy expensive, organic, grass-fed, nitrate-free jerky, and there are lots of options, especially if you go to some kind of hippie health food store. So we usually have some on hand, and usually there's lots of different flavors that, like, honey garlic, or something that has a tiny bit of sweetness to it that usually is really appealing to young children. A caution is, try it at home first, because a lot of jerky is very chewy, so just be sure your child can chew it and swallow it well without choking, of course, but you'd be surprised. So test that out at home, and if they are able to eat it well in the car without your supervision, that's something that's great to have in the diaper bag, because you can keep it in the diaper bag. Next, I often walk around with pancakes in my diaper bag. I've got a bunch of recipes for homemade pancakes that I make. I got an oat-based one, a pumpkin egg-based one. So some of these need to be stored in the refrigerator, but it's almost like walking around with bread, but some of these homemade recipes can be a lot more nutritious or nutrient dense. So if you guys are interested, I'd be happy to put some recipes up on my website, but stuff like that, you can think outside of the box. Your kids, when they're little, they don't know that a granola bar is supposed to be a snack, so you can feel free to feed them anything that they are able to eat that won't destroy your car. On the same lines, hard-boiled eggs. That obviously does take a little bit of prep, but sometimes I'll hard boil 12 eggs and then I just have them, and I'll pre-peel them. So again, that does take a little bit of prep, so that's cheating a little bit on this list. But then I can just throw one in the bag, and if your kids will eat it, that's a fantastic, an egg is literally an all-in-one nutrient dose. So that's a wonderful thing to have in the refrigerator if your kid will eat it. Next, I just saw at the store and I've started buying, they're now selling little to-go olive packs, which is amazing. Now, olives are a very strong taste, but they're really salty, which toddlers usually like. So I do not like olives, do not tell my kids, but I feed them olives and I pretend that I like them. And they now are selling, they look like applesauce cups. But they're just olives, and so they stay at room temperature. You can keep them in your diaper bag, and then, once you peel it off, then if you don't eat it, you need to refrigerate it. But yeah, so then you can just keep those in your diaper bags, and olives are, of course, a wonderful, really healthy fat source that can, olives with some puffs. Now that's a very nutritious snack. Okay, I'm almost to the end. Oh, next, some puffs. I'm really picky about the kind of puffs that I buy. A lot of puffs I don't have a problem with puffs, but I have a problem when kids primarily eat puffs, and some of the puffs that are marketed to kids are just full of sugar. That makes me mad. So I wrote it down. The brand I'm on now is Barbara's Puffins. It's actually not puffs, it's a cereal. It's in like the healthy section. It has more sugar than I'm comfortable with, but it has less sugar than a lot of cereals on the market, and they sell a version that has extra protein in it. They add pea protein powder to the puff, so it's a little more protein and a little more fiber than your average puff. But of course, you can have a puff for a cereal. I would just say look for something with whole grains and as little sugar as you can find. And of course, a little bit of cereal and puffs is not going to kill your kids, but you can try to tweak the type of puffs and cereal that you have. The last one is, this is my last one that I always have on hand, and it's so convenient to have bars. I understand why granola bars are so popular, but again, they're usually so sweet and so full of sugar that I can understand why some young kids develop this super sweet taste. So my two favorite types of bars, and these are the only kind of bars I ever give my kids, and Petey's the only one that gets both, are Larabars, or Larabars, L-A-R-A bars. And they're real whole food based. So they're all based on some kind of dates and nuts. So they are sweet. I'm not pretending that this is, the best thing since sliced bread, but it's much better than your average granola bar or like Cliff Kid bars. Don't get me started there. So the ingredients are it's usually 3 or 4 ingredients. It's all nuts and some kind of fruit. And so I feel really comfortable with that, no preservatives. And they usually, because of the nuts, have a significant amount of healthy calories and protein, which, again, I'm always looking for toddler snacks. And they come in a huge variety of flavors. A lot of the flavors have chocolate, and I'm terrible. I don't let my kids have the kind with chocolate, but they don't know that it exists because I never buy it, so don't tell them. And they think it is this huge treat, so they love getting bars. The other bar I really like are RX bars. And it's a really similar idea. It's all whole food based ingredients, but they use egg white protein, so it has a lot of protein, and the flavors are delicious. My only complaint about RX bars are, I don't know why, I think because of the egg protein, they are super, super chewy. So honestly, I can't even give them to Vaughn. Even though he has tons of teeth, the kid has the most sensitive gag reflex you have ever seen. And so anything that's really chewy will initiate a gag, and he will spit up at the drop of a hat if anything gets too far back in his throat. So I can't even give it to him. It's a mess. So Petey will get a little bit if for some reason, we're having a special time and Vaughn is not around. But so usually it's Larabars for us, and I always have 2 of those in my diaper bag as well. Because yes, I still have a diaper bag. So I hope those are helpful. I know it is a huge frustration to me with young children, as soon as they started solid foods until now, preschool age, that all the snacks are it's just so many crackers and carbohydrates. And again, I have nothing against that. 100% carbs that's not ideal. So hopefully these are some good ideas that you can have to keep on hand. Like all these things I always have in my refrigerator and in my pantry, so that if we're running out, I know, again, there's crackers everywhere you go these days. So if I'm bringing a little bit of my own protein, I feel a little more comfortable that my kids are going to have a little bit more well-rounded nutrition and hopefully avoid the, blood sugar hellhole that comes at 4 o'clock if they're not appropriately fed. At least I totally experienced that. So share this with another family who's got kids your age. And I really hope that's helpful. Thanks. Yeah, I love Larabars. I do too. So, again, I'll close with, just feel free to think outside of the box. What you feed your kids doesn't have to be marketed as a child's snack. Food is food is food. So yeah, Larabars aren't marketed to children, but the ingredients are much more wholesome than most of the products that are marketed to children. So, olives aren't marketed as a kid's food, but they're fantastic for little growing bodies. So I hope that's helpful. Feel free, if there's something that you do that I didn't say, leave it in the comments. Let's share the wealth. And I'm going to try to be a little more consistent with happy hour, but to be honest, I don't make any promises. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, Nat, I love you. Mwah! Yeah, so you go one trip to the store, buy a bunch of stuff, and then you'll have it for ages. Okay, I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.